Hello, everybody.
Hey kids, are you ready for a nice arcade venture brought to you by yours?
Sonic, this game has to be used only in Japan. We're violating copyright laws.
Don't worry, Tio. With the use of fan translations or actual translations and the like, you too can be like me, a supersonic hero, along with my pals Ray and Mighty.
Yes.
Plus, no copyright law in the universe can stop you.
Yes, this is the game where Ray the Squirrel made his debut. And there you go.
I forget
so,
if Mighty
I'm actually curious, why Mighty got imported from Knuckles Chaotix?
I feel like this... Wait, hold on.
Tio, this came out before Knuckles Chaotix.
Yeah.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. This came out before Knuckles Chaotix.
So it's technically the debut of both of them, then.
Yeah.
So back begs the question in reverse. How did Mighty migrate into the Chaotix?
Alright, so here's how the game works. There's only one button to jump, and there's a trackball for movement. I'll get into that after the intro. Here's this. Alright, so the story
of this is that Eggman has finally managed to capture Sonic.
So
the evil Castle de Grand.
Maybe Sonic wasn't running fast enough.
So there you go. The object is and now we have to escape Eggman's traps. Okay.
Yep,
What's his Japanese name to you?
He literally starts the game by trying to kill you. Smart.
Okay. The basic gist of it, everybody, is that I looked into it. No, there is no actual fan-translated ROM of this. But however, I've looked into it as well. The plot is literally like Jova just said. It's just the Robotnik kidnapping the characters, and we have to escape their traps. There's literally nothing else to it. So don't bother. It's not. I'm pretty sure you can basically vaguely guess what the Eggman is saying. Yeah, I love Sonic's voice in this game.
He is voiced in this case by Takeshi Kusao. Check.
The game will credit the voice actors. The interesting thing, Joe, is that everything in this game is in English except for Eggman's dialogue. Literally everything else is in English.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's what this fan translation here is for, the one that I'm linking in the chat right now.
Well, I get that. It's just that.
Oh yeah, they actually translate what he says.
Yeah, I get that. I saw that as well. But that's like he actually imposes the text on the video. I'm talking about an actual translated version of this ROM, which there is not, sadly.
Oh,
but
this looks like a bugger to control.
Oh, that's because that's because
it's actually rather simple when you have the roller ball.
When you have the trackball. Unfortunately, I don't, because remember, this game was only released in Japan, and it was never re-released.
They've replaced the rate collect thing.
Basically, Shiroi.
It still looks like you're having a bit of a rough time with it.
That's because. Let me explain.
Everything is exploding and shooting at you right every step. Jesus.
Oh yeah. This is one of the toughest Sonic games you'll find out there.
What you were saying, Pedro?
It's made for an arcade, Jova, so obviously it's going to be tough to make you spend more money.
Also, we have alliteration with these levels, which I love. Welcome to Icy Isle.
Yeah.
And hey, Robotnik's using a Sega monitor to watch everything on.
How nice. Okay.
Are you saying, Pedro?
Basically, did you notice the trackball for movement that the controller showed? The tutorial showed, sorry. Basically, Shiro, the way this game works is, in order to control Sonic, and here's the problem. Okay, apparently, from what I've looked into, okay, you know how when you use an analog stick, like when you play Mario 64, for example, Mario will walk with the speed depending on how much you tilt the analog stick, right? Well, that's it apparently works similar in the way that you play with a trackball. You tilt the ball depending on how you want Sonic to move. Here's the problem, Shiroi. This game was not programmed with analog control in mind, so it's not like using an analog stick will work anyway. Again, this game was designed with a trackball in mind. If you don't have and it would also and MAME doesn't even have emulation for the trackball. And not that I blame them, because it's not like you can buy. Are there even any third-party controllers out there on eBay that use trackballs? I don't think there are.
I think there was like.
Wasn't there one for the
Atari
5200?
There was like that makeshift one that does come with the trackball, but those are very rare to come by.
Plus, wasn't there that one for the Atari 5200?
So yeah, basically the only way you're going to be able to play this. So basically, Shiro, the only way you're going to be able to play this game the way the developers intended is get MAME, get the ROM, and try to find a third-party controller for your PC that has a trackball. But even then, here's the problem: the MAME doesn't have emulation for the actual trackball control of it, because again, remember, MAME started being showing showing up on computers in the early 2000s. So of course, at the time, it was a much simpler time, and people didn't really, have third-party controllers for PCs for the most part. So yeah, and MAME isn't even being in development anymore. So. So basically, Shiro, I'm playing this game with a D-pad because that's the using my 8-bit Do controller. And
wait,
yeah,
hold on. You say you used an emulator, right?
Well, it's not like I can play in the arcade, Jova. So it's not.
Do you have a laptop?
I do, yes.
Huh? Because usually what I do is that I just track the trackball motions to as if I was playing it with the touchpad.
Well, that's the thing, Jova. MAME doesn't have an option to do that. I don't know what emulator you use, but this one doesn't have it.
God, I forget which one I was using, but yeah, I was able to. Granted, there are several different emulators that can play this, so
I have a better idea. Why not just have why not just make a game controllable with a directional control like everybody else? But whatever.
Well, like we said, Pedro, this was an arcade game. We can't fault them for making an arcade game that uses the trackball controller. That's like faulting them for using the technology they were using at the time. Yeah,
basically, sure. You know how it can be a bit awkward to control Sonic 3D Blast with a D-pad? Well,
yes.
Well, this is even worse because unlike Sonic 3D Blast, which was designed with a D-pad in mind, this game was designed with a trackball in mind. Basically, Shiro, because I cannot control Sonic's speed, there's only two speeds in this game: 0 or 1,000. Sonic is either stopped in his tracks or moving.
Oh, that's how it is in the actual arcade game. That's part of the difficulty part.
I guess the sphere serves to angulate better the position of Sonic.
The problem is, Jova, as well, is that, again, because I don't have the ball, I cannot control myself I cannot control the angle in which I run in the well. So I have to, basically try to do analog turning with a D-pad, which is a nightmare.
Basically, PSA players, look for an emulator that allows you to use mouse controls for the direction of a trackball. It'll make life a lot easier.
I don't have that, so whatever. But whatever, it will make my screw-ups. My screw-ups will make the playthrough more fun to watch, maybe.
I get the idea behind how this game works and all. Was this made
basically
after the release of Sonic? Was this done after the release of Sonic CD?
Yeah, I think so. This thing came out in 1994, 95, around there.
Let me check.
Because in that case, I get it. We want to recreate the frantic action that the opening of the game had. The idea, it's very similar in that kind of sense.
Okay,
with all these traps going around at the same time, Sonic having to dodge every shit on this.
Let's see. This game came out in 1993.
CD was 92, wasn't it?
No, CD was 92.
No, CD was the same year, actually.
So same year.
So I'm pretty sure it was just a coincidence. It wasn't an attempt to. Most likely, they just made it. Okay, Sonic is fast. Let's have an intense arcade action game with fence running and
shit. You can see how different it is because at least so far I haven't seen any bad nicks. So it's mostly just traps.
That's because there are no enemies or bosses in this game. It's literally just an obstacle course. That's all it is.
Sure. Again, it gives the different aura compared to the average Sonic game. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Basically, like I said, the game is essentially a gauntlet, and it's Eggman doing his damnedest hard to kill you.
So it's essentially the polar opposite of Sonic Labyrinth.
The primary thing is that, of course, whenever the game requires me to do something, like to have quick reflexes, it can be, again, very hard because trying to do the exact, precisely, uniquely angled turns that this game requires you to do, again, with a D-pad, just cannot be done. This game was clearly made to be played with a trackball, and it doesn't really work very well with a D-pad, sadly. So
basically, this game uses the Sega System 32 motherboard.
It's like if you tried playing Mario 64 with a D-pad, it just doesn't work.
Well, I've made it work with.
I don't like DS port. I don't like it.
We unfortunately have to make it work for those who are playing on the DS version.
Let me rephrase that. If you tried emulating the Nintendo 64 version, but your controller only had a D-pad in it, there you go.
Well, that's the thing. We kind of have to with the DS version.
Siri, I have a suggestion.
Yes.
Why not play it on the 3DS and use the circle pad?
Oh, I dread to think that, considering how fragile that thing is.
It's because
it technically works, but it's not the ideal solution. One would hope.
I would argue that it's farther than ideal. Because I would argue that it's farther than ideal because remember there are parts in that game where you have to walk slowly to not wake up the sleeping piranha plants, meaning you have to tilt the analog stick just slightly. And again, you cannot do that with a D-pad. In D-pad, you're either moving forward or you're not. So you cannot have any kind of sensitivity on there. So again, it's
like I said, we have to do it with the DS.
Also, Roadrunner reference for some reason.
Fun fact, actually.
Hearing Sonic Speed, I'm not actually surprised.
Fun fact, actually, this game was this game had the potential to get ported, but was rejected 2 times. The first time was when a port for the 32X was planned but cancelled for unknown reasons.
Again, I find it interesting how everything in this game, literally everything in this game, is in English. Not well, it's an arcade game too, isn't that? Every arcade game is like that to an extent. Yeah, literally everything in this game, like the message saying break. The push start button message there, like literally everything is in English except Eggman's speech balloons.
Okay, Shuri, to answer your question, the second port was actually going to be with the 2005 compilations of the Sonic Gems collection for GameCube.
See, I'm surprised it didn't end up on that because that collection, along with Knuckles Chaotix not being included for some reason, had a lot of weird and wonderful games in there.
It did. Including Sonic
Wild
CD,
Water
which for some reason was not on the Sonic Mega Collection.
Yeah, it's always the same exactly transition screen with Eggman laughing.
Basically, he's pissed you escape, but don't worry, he's got something even worse planned for you each level.
Wow.
Yeah, also I checked, I knew I already heard the name because Takeshi Kuzawa is the historical voice actor for Trunks in...
Okay.
Of course, he has played the extended resume, but the Trunks is basically his most famous role.
So Trunks is playing Sonic, I guess. Well, sure. What do you think of this Sonic voice?
I mean, it's not... this is the only time he's had a different Japanese voice actor, isn't it?
No, remember, the OVA. The OVA had a different one.
Also the movie, the live action movie gave him a different one.
Actually, never mind, there is a different one. Yeah.
You guys actually told me.
The actual, because the voice actor for Sonic, like he's still doing it for the games, though, isn't he? Like,
not just that. Usually Japan loves to say super consistent when it comes to having their video game characters in other media. Like, believe it or not,
except for Ace Attorney,
they only want to replace them if they can't, use them more.
To be fair, Teo, sorry. To be fair, Joe, but Shuta Kumi is the game designer. He's not a voice actor. So,
for example,
well, I mean, it's not just him. They've changed them even without him. Like, there's a different one for the movie. There's a different one for the 3DS games.
They even have a different one for Phoenix for commercials of the game. Yeah, I remember
As
that.
you can see,
not only that, there's a different one in the anime and a different one in Project Cross Zone 2. Which,
I don't know, Jova, because there's this waterfall that is
okay,
really
allow me.
loud.
Again, this is this is the best example I can give of what I'm talking about. Again, I have to jump in a diagonal angle to do that. And again, the only way I can do that in a very precise way is if I had a trackball controller. Unfortunately, I do not. And so I kind of have to... Again, this is basically me fighting against the controls, basically. Not to the fault of the game itself, but more so because I'm using the wrong controller for this game.
Or Sonic.
It really is one of those cases where I'm basically fighting the way the game is designed. And as you can see for the length of this video, everybody, this is yet again another case of an arcade game that is incredibly short once you have infinite credits. Because yeah, this is all about you dying over and over and over and over and over and over until you know everything, and you can basically complete the and let me tell you, the ending of the game has some bullshit apart, but I'll talk about when we get there.
But yeah, for example, Shiri, you know about basically every single character in the Resident Evil movies that was present in the game, like Jim Valentine, for the Japanese release is actually voiced by his or her voice actor in the game that they have in the game. So, for example, it's a nice touch. Though, like Jova mentioned, there are exceptions.
Alright, and now it's time for the 7th and final level. Eggman's Tower. Oh, come on, you ruined the alliteration.
Eggman's Empire? No, you're not gonna go with that?
Yeah, exactly. You should have called it Eggman's Empire. Well, okay, to be fair, it wouldn't make any sense to call this an...
technically not his empire, but that's what I could think of.
I mean...
Isn't that part of the
Eggman's edifice, maybe?
Madness?
I mean, one building isn't much of an empire.
Fair point.
Alright, this is Eggman's Tower.
And it is bullshit, yes it is.
Well, okay, again, Shiro, no. The only point in this game... Yeah, if I have the trackball controller, I'm assuming this is a bit better. Again, I have never played the game the way that it was intended, so I can't really judge the control.
Christ.
I'm going to refrain from judging the controls because I'm not playing it the way the developers intended. So I'm going to not pass judgment on the controls.
Yeah, from what I've seen, pretty much...
Sorry, go on.
No, from what I've seen, like, pretty much every LP of this has looked, you know, like this. So, yeah, it probably works a lot better with that controller.
Well, most playthroughs you'll see are playing on MAME, like I am, so... But anyway, the only part of this game that I would consider genuine bullshit is the final set piece. But I'll explain when we get there.
Okay, random hot take in from someone who's usually not into Sonic, but how is it possible that this arcade game manages to be super frantic with all this shit going around and trying to kill you compared to the more modern Sonic games?
Well, there is
Alright, time to...
Eggman,
Alright, and like I said, there we go, we found Eggman. Unfortunately, there's no voice battles in this game, so instead we're gonna have a Metroid-style escape. Now you'll die, Sonic. That's probably what he's saying. Something along those lines.
Slam. Wait, 20 seconds?
And now we have
Excuse me?
And now we have 20 seconds to escape, which can be... And allow me to remind you, again, I have to do these sharp turns with a D-pad, so they can be quite difficult.
The idea with this was...
Alright, here's the bullshit. Here's the bullshit part. Did you notice what it said right there? No continue. Did you hear what it says there?
Yeah.
You know what this means, right?
If you die here, you have to restart from the beginning.
Regardless of how many credits you have. Fuck off.
Really?
So basically what they're telling me is that even if I put a lot of coins, I still have to start the game all over. That's just...
Bullshit?
One of the primary things of arcade games is that when as long as you have money, you get to keep continuing. Alright, now let's actually succeed at this.
That is sadly a thing, though. There are...
I mean, in terms of character, to be fair, it kind of averts the stupid thing of when they give the hero plenty of time to get out of something.
No, this is one of those things... Don't get me wrong, dudes. Obviously, if I had the trackball control, probably I would have made it first time. There you go, I barely made it.
Barely.
But I still don't like that practice of... ending the player's playthrough even if he has money, because the whole point of arcade cabinets is that as long as you have money, you get to keep continuing. That's how...
Oh god, that Sonic portrait. Oh god, it looks so ugly.
He has noodle arms.
Dark sheet there.
And there's no bones in them.
It does.
Director T. Tsuda, whoever he is.
Oh god, it's literally the same model, just with little touches.
Same sprite, but yeah, you're right.
I know Mighty's is also.
Well, Mighty has always been like that, so even in Chaotix is.
Oh, wait,
it's literally the model.
But yeah, the model would be similar.
I will say this, that despite not being the same actor, Eggman's voice actor sounds very similar to his OVA voice actor.
He also has a very...
Oh, hold on, guys. We're not... Oh, look at Naoto Oshima is in the special thanks. Not Yuji Naka and Yasuhara, though. Interesting. Alright, and now an after credit scene.
Oh.
Eggman Evil Scientist.
Eggman Evil.
Stop. Okay.
Let me guess, I hate that hedgehog.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Crystals. Oh,
and that was Segasonic the Hedgehog. Out of rank? What does that mean? Out of rank?
That's the subtitle. Sonic the Hedgehog, out of rank.
I think it means that you're at the top or something.
I guess. All right.
But yeah,
so
here as also is an extensive resume. Go on.
All right. So yeah, that was Segasonic the Hedgehog. It's very short. Clearly, again, this is abundantly clear that this game was designed to be hard as balls, so that you keep dying over and over and over and allocating the gameplay. Of course, when you play this game with infinite credits, yeah, it's short as fuck. So yeah, there's that. Of course, yeah, I get there are other characters, yeah, but Ray and like Shira put it out. It was Ted that put it out. Like Ted put it out. Mighty and Ray are just sprite changes. Like they control exactly the same. They play exactly the same. There's no differences between character playthroughs. The voice actor.
Flying squirrel can't fly.
The voice acting is different for each character, but it's just the same grunts. So it's not. Trust me, you're not really
voices. I guess.
Yeah, different voices, but it's not really worth playing the game again. And I don't really like playing this game with a D-pad, so I'm not gonna bother. Like you've seen everything that you need to see. Trust me. It's just a 19-minute game elongated by difficulty, which again, that's the standard for arcade games. I'm not gonna fault the game for that. I don't like playing. Again, this is one of those cases where I can understand why Sega never released this, because yeah, in order to re-release this today, Sega would need to make a third-party controller with a trackball, and yeah, that would probably be. And they're not a hardware company anymore, so yeah, it's.
Or I guess they would just adapt the controls to be towards an analog stick.
Well, that would require a full-out remake. I don't know if Sega's willing to waste money and resources on a remake of this, to be honest.
More like a remaster, honestly.
I don't know.
Well,
maybe Christian could take this and put it on its retro engine. Maybe
the usual Christian Whitehead / Taxman, treatment.
I guess maybe Christian could do something with this, but Sega most likely just kind of usually forgets that this game exists anyway, so I wouldn't hold my breath, to be honest.
Similar to Knuckles Chaotix.
Yeah.
So, final thoughts then?
Yeah, final thoughts. Like I said, like I was saying, yeah, it works fine for what it is, it seems. I don't like how it's very Sonic and the Secret Rings-esque in its level design, where it's literally nothing but just running in a straight line. There's no how even Secret Rings actually had bosses. This literally is nothing but a runner with an obstacle course. There's no bosses. Yes, there's rings, but in case you guys have noticed, there's a life bar in this game, and you fill out the life bar with rings, just like Eggman in Sonic Adventure 2. It's not a bad way to incorporate it, sure. I guess they didn't want to have the traditional ring method because it wouldn't go against their design. Sure, I guess, why not? It's just that outside of that, there's very little. Yeah, there's platforming, there's Eggman, there's Sonic, but the actual gameplay is it's about going fast, but it still doesn't feel very Sonic-y to me. Like, you could technically put this with a different character and it would work out fine. It doesn't feel like this game doesn't exactly. It's not the best way I would translate Sonic into an arcade game. Personally, I think a side scroller would have worked a lot better than the isometric thing they have going on here, to be honest. Like it's basically just it's just a very typical. Even by arcade games, I would argue that this one can be a bit shallow. Honestly, it's just running forward and dodging obstacles, and once you've put it once,
that's a lot of arcade games with the trackball. Honestly,
I get that. It's just that
it's not so much running forward. Actually, it's more like running in 4 different directions.
True. It's just that the game is a bit too short. Like, even by arcade game standards, this is like way too short. Like, it's just like there's literally just 7 levels and you can complete them, each of them, in like 40 seconds if you know what you're doing. So yeah, and what you guys saw here was a half blind playthrough, half blind. Like, so it's a bit. It can be. I'm pretty sure you can beat this in like 10 minutes if you've mastered it.
I guess it makes sense, with Sonic of all characters. Like, that always was sort of the that was always sort of the goal of his games, to complete them as soon as you could, hence the speed and all that.
Sure, I just wish there was a bit more content in this. I think the game is a bit too short, even for arcade games. Anyway, that's about it, Shuri.
Just to say something about the ending, real quick. I didn't really see the issue until you got to the very end, because I thought with the 20 seconds there left, I thought it was just, an arbitrary set piece. But considering how the ending goes, they clearly expect you to have some chance of failing that, and yeah, that's complete bull, really. But in general, it's okay. I don't really have much to say about the game itself. What I want to know is, what did Sonic actually do to Eggman this time? No, seriously, wait a second. Like, Eggman has never made this much effort, ever, in the game franchise specifically, to just obliterate Sonic, like, considering everything that's going on in here. Like, he's saved him several times throughout this series. What did he do on this particular occasion? That's what I want to know. I don't care about anything else. Just what did he do?
The world may never know.
He literally starts this game by trying to crush you to death.
It's like he's done something, and that's more interesting to me than anything else that's gone on, honestly. But I'm done.
Farewell, Sonic, my admirable adversary. All right.
As for me, I mean, it looks alright. It's just, you know, I mean, maybe it play. I'm pretty sure it does play better with a trackpad.
Mm-hmm. I'm guessing so, but I never actually played it the arcade cabinet, so I don't know.
But I mean, overall, I think it's fine.
All right, Teo.
First of all, just to mention quickly, the two voice actors that we didn't heard, Hinako Kanemaru for Ray the Flying Squirrel. Apparently, she doesn't really have a big resume, and this was only like a stepping stone. She had maybe like a cameo or two in a Sailor Moon episode. And Yuzuke Numata for Mighty Armadillo, which is more noticeable with a more extensive resume. This was actually one of his first roles, but he's mostly known for voicing Baby in Dragon Ball GT and all the subsequent Dragon Ball product that included the character. But anyways, for the game itself, it certainly puts up the spectacle, but I will say this, because this game literally fits the part of what the idea of Sonic would be, this fast thing that runs away from things that wants to kill it. But I can definitely see the cheapness of the arcade component, especially for the end. And it runs into the one problem that I keep seeing in Sonic products, especially the modern one, the dilemma. Either make the levels long enough to sustain a decent length, and as such having to program a shit ton of things, making the game heavy and potentially hard to program it in itself, or turn around, keeping around it, making bring more obstacles, or bring a bit more scripted paths here and there, but the result to make the game more short, like in this case, or some of the modern games. But aside from, so on one hand, I can see what they were coming from, but on the other, I do believe the team got over enthusiastic about it as a result, and I'm guessing that's also one of the reasons why this never came out of Japan. Potentially, again, I don't know the full history behind that, especially. Sorry. Maybe
the game, the arcade cabinet in Japan wasn't particularly bringing in a lot of coins. Maybe.
Well, I suppose. That's for a very good reason. But I wouldn't mind if this got re-released in some form of capacity, just of course probably with a cheat menu of some kind, like the usual re-releases of arcade and old titles these days tend to have. Or like Jova and Pedro mentioned, the Taxman / Christian Whitehead, treatment. Who knows? Interesting to see this was the debut of both Mighty and Ray. Ray I already knew, but I always thought when Mighty first debuted in Knuckles Chaotix, apparently not, which, again, I'm interested to know who was responsible in saying, when making Knuckles Chaotix in this case, let's bring these characters from the Segasonic arcade. But yeah, okay, nice enough, but it's definitely cheap and could have been much, much better. Next.
Java, close us out.
Yeah, it's a game that I enjoy. Granted, I probably had a better experience playing it, but yeah. Playing this with a D-pad is not going to be the ideal occasion in there. I definitely dig the spectacle of it. The set pieces are pretty keen, varied, and good with variety here and there. The game can feel quick if you know how to master through it, but, you know, I still find it overall fun. Again, provided you have the right controller. Cannot stress enough how having the right type of controller or an emulator, like whichever one I used, I can't remember the name, that allows for, you know, more precise motion here and there. Yeah, it's sort of a 0 to full speed sort of thing, hence the difficulty of the arcade cabinet. And it does have some BS arcade tactics here and there. But overall, what can I say? It's another installment in the Sonic franchise. It's one that I find more enjoyment out of than complaints. The voice acting's nice, as is the music. Spectacle and sprites, well done. Yeah. Good game.
Yeah, actually, who was the composer for this?
The credits said it said they're like it's a composer who's never composed for anything other Sonic related stuff. So I'm guessing it's probably a random Sega composer who was just there and they used him. And
let's see, the composers were Hiroshi Kawaguchi
and Keitaro Hanada and Naoki Tokiwa. I seem to recognize only the second one, but it's mostly sound department. I don't know what they done. But there you go. Hiroshi Kawaguchi was mostly known for being the composer of Space Harrier, for example, in Fantasy Zone. So he did a lot of these old Sega IPs.
There you go, then.
All right, then.
All right, everybody. That was Segasonic. So... whatever.
Use this as a good precursor before the Phantom Ruby duology, I suppose.
Outside of the Megatech versions of Sonic 1 and 2, there's no other Sonic arcade games. And again, when you're playing Sonic 1 and 2...
Sonic the Fighters.
Okay, yeah, true. That's true. Okay, traditional, like Sonic, more traditional Sonic games. Let's go with that. Yeah, I guess eventually we'll have Jova maybe do Sonic Fighters.
We'll see.
We'll see.
See ya.
See ya.
All right. Take care.